Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. Y'all, listen, I feel like I'm watching the body cam footage or I'm reading the police report for the moment that the divine feminine energy was arrested. Everybody that watches this body cam footage, everybody that reads this arrest report is going to say one thing about the divine feminine. They will say, a seed neither fears light nor darkness, but uses both to grow. Y'all, getting arrested is a dark moment. And so although I feel like I'm watching the moment of arrest or body cam footage, I'm really talking about a moment that was orchestrated for the life of the divine feminine that was supposed to be very dark. But because the divine feminine is a seed itself, you are a walking seed. And so all you know how to do is grow. And so if somebody puts you in a dark situation, the same thing you would do when things are light and fuzzy is the same thing you do when things are dark and ominous. Okay, divine feminine? Now, I also get the 10 of Cups, and this is coming out as the umbrella energy. The 10 of Cups, notoriously, is the card for family, love, and togetherness and relationships. But families are also the groups of people where a lot of problems are going to go unsolved. Families are also the groups of people where a lot of discussions are going to go unhad. What I understand about this is that divine feminine, you were in a situation of darkness and something about your family's stench or signature was lingering in this situation. Did you actually know your family had a hand in this situation? No, but something about this body cam footage or this police report your family is going to be reading, they are going to be seeing, they will absolutely know that they can't make you afraid. They can put you in any scenario. They can orchestrate any plot. And in anything that you were seated in, all you know how to do is grow. Okay, now let's go ahead and break out the reading. Now, I'm using my Dante's Inferno deck, which is one of my favorite decks. This is where Dante's a poet. Dante's Inferno is a poem. Okay, and in this poem, somebody is taking a tour in the same way that you would travel through a museum. Dante is traveling through the 9 layers of hell. He is not alone. He is with Virgil. Virgil is a tour guide. Now, listen, if you are a killer, you are not going to live in the same layer or level of hell as a thief. And so every level of hell is what it is based on the sin that you committed to get you there. Okay, so I'm using my Dante's Inferno deck, and one of the cards that comes out to describe the overall energy is rebuked traitor. When Dante was walking through the 9th level of hell, which was really like a frozen lake. Imagine walking over a frozen lake. But on this lake, there are like bodies. Everybody's alive, but part of their body is frozen. So while Dante is walking on the frozen lake with Virgil, he kicks someone in the head that is partially frozen. He kicks the head of Bocca, the traitor, during Florence, Italy. They were having a war, something was happening, it was a crucial battle, and Bocca betrayed Florence and impacted the whole trajectory of the city's history. And so this is the part of hell for those that are considered to be traitors and betrayals. Now, something is a little different. When Dante gets to Bocca and he kicks him in the head, he refuses to walk away until Bocca has essentially poured out his soul and told him every fucked up thing he's done, but also who are the people buried in this ice around you? Who was around you and what have they done? And so the reason why this is a little different is because everywhere else that Dante traveled when he was visiting hell, he felt pity, like he felt bad for everybody. But when he got to Bocca, he was like, no, fuck that. What have you done? Like, you need to undress your soul. I need you to get naked. I need you to tell me every bit of suffering that you have caused another. So when this card comes up, this is saying 2 things. 1, the divine feminine, this is how the darkness, divine feminine, if we're talking about you being a seed that was in darkness, everybody knows you can be put in darkness. This is the moment that you had to go through. This is the moment that you grew through that determines that you are a G that can go through anything. So a rebuked traitor, the same type of person that betrayed the city of Florence and fucked up the whole outcome of a battle. This is the same type of person that enters the life of a divine feminine, a rebuked traitor. But divine feminine, you did something with this person that you have never done before. Right? And it's indicated by how Dante responds. So everywhere else that you have been in life, aka all the different layers and levels of hell that you have walked through, divine feminine, maybe you had a little bit of pity or a little bit of grace, but this experience that you were put in with this person, you showed up and you showed out, meaning this is no longer the season to suffer in silence. Divine feminine, there was a dark situation and maybe you were a little quiet in how you responded to all the other types of darkness that you had walked through. But something about this situation made you respond just like Dante did when he kicked the traitor in the head. He was like, no, I'm not moving on. Tell me what you've done. Right? This is the season where we speak about our suffering. We speak about our betrayals. We talk about all the things that we have done to people. So the way the divine feminine defended themselves, this was a display, but it all happened in darkness. Something about the 10 of Cups. This could have been a situation between the darkness about you and your own family. I don't know, but the 10 of Cups is here. So your family may have considered you to be a rebuked traitor because of how you responded to the level of darkness that they sanctioned on you or around you, right? Or your family is a group of rebuked traitors, and in this lifetime, you are forcing them to strip their souls bare, and you will not move on until they say or show or reveal what it is they have done. But also, who are you? Who's buried around you? Who else is trapped in this ice with you? Right? We're talking about treachery, betrayal, and traitors. All right, y'all, I'm really going to jump into the reading. So the way I understand this is, listen, the greatest thing about the divine feminine is about their ability to receive. And so if you want to fuck up a divine feminine based on this reading, you got to get them to receive something bad. If you plant or seed something in them that is bad, well, naturally they will grow into something or they will become something bad. Okay? So the divine feminine, if you are a grower, if you carry this essence, everybody knows it. And the only way they can think of to fuck you up is to plant something in you or around you that is sour, that is not good for you, something that is dark. My handmade card says, Earth is located on the fringe of our galactic system. I know that means a lot. The way I understand this is that whenever I see Earth, I'm talking about the divine. I'm talking about an organic energy. So in this reading, when it says Earth, we're talking about the divine feminine. At some point, the divine feminine was located on the fringe of something or someone else's life or system or environment that was like foreign. I want you to imagine stepping over a boundary and you not really knowing it, but you have stepped into the land of someone else. And this someone else is not a fan of the divine feminine's energy. So we already know the overall reading of this, the overall message of this reading is about betrayal. And so now this is about how the betrayal is going to be seeded into the life. I want to betray the divine feminine, but how do I plant this seed? Well, at some point, either the divine feminine was on somebody else's plot or somebody enters the divine feminine system. I have social media on this card. It has a picture of Facebook. Literally, you could have met somebody that was sent to betray you through Facebook. We could just take it very literally. Okay? This would have been a moment of judgment. So when the judgment card comes out, we are talking about a return of the dead, something that could have been buried, something that could have been burned, but instead of being buried and burned, it comes back to life. This is about a second chance. And so whatever this moment is that is being orchestrated against the divine feminine, this is somebody wanting to go at it again. This is somebody wanting to come around again in order to put this divine feminine in some type of darkness, right? But you keep growing. And so divine feminine, I don't know if you cross paths with somebody on social media. It could have specifically been Facebook, but this entire exchange, it was for another battle. It was another round. It was because somebody wanted an outcome. They wanted a second chance. This was a second chance to put the divine feminine in a dark situation. I have the card for grounded. Whenever we talk about needing to be grounded, what we're really saying is our energy is scattered. We're not fully connected to our body. We feel spacey, we feel confused, or we're unable to focus. One of the ways that we, and I'm really speaking from the ops, one of the ways that we can get this divine energy to not be grounded, meaning how can we scatter the energy of this divine feminine? How can we disconnect this divine feminine from their body, How can we get the divine feminine to be spacey, to be confused? How do we get them to lose focus? Somebody says, oh, I got another chance, social media. Now, by way of social media, in comes Seduction in the Shadows. This is another card from Dante's Inferno. So this is how they are going to access the divine feminine energy. Seduction in the Shadows. So Dante is in the 9th part of hell. When this card comes out, he's in the 9th part of hell. This is where the panderers and the seducers live. And so when Dante visits this part of hell, Virgil points out a hero, a legendary hero whose name is Jason. This is the hero that makes every woman feel like they are everything that they've been waiting for, right? Like, think about, this is the seducer or this is the panderer. This is the type of person that will make their way into the divine feminine's life in order to get your energy to leave your body, in order to scatter you, in order to make you spacey, in order to get you lose focus. Somebody wanted another round. And so by way of social media, a seductive panderer makes their way to you. Okay, this is how you got to get the seed in. If a divine feminine is supposed to be vulnerable and receive, you have to set up a play for them to receive, right? You got to be able to pass it. And so somebody may have passed you something, but it was through social media and it was supposed to scatter you energetically. It was supposed to get your soul to feel like it was not fully and completely united with your own body. Now, why do you want to scatter the energy of the divine feminine? Because when you are scattered and you try to ground yourself, listen, when your feet are off the ground, all you want to do is put your feet back on the ground. And so somebody sends in a seductive panderer to get you ungrounded so that when you drop your anchor again, you are going to drop it, but on the karmic path. This is about getting the divine feminine to leave their path. So you put them on a dark path. You put them on the karmic path, thinking that they won't do what the divine feminine does. Y'all, this is just the plot. This is what I'm watching in this reading, okay? So now the divine feminine is energetically all over the place because of the panderer. Now you're on the karmic path. What was supposed to happen here? I literally have the card for mind control. And so in order to get to your mind, I got to get in. I'm going to get in by way of social media. Once I'm in, now I can control your mind. What is mind control? Mind control is psychological techniques that manipulate action and manipulate thought, but it goes against a person's will. It goes against a person's desire and knowledge. And so we are going to send somebody in, and they are already on the, listen, remember how I said Earth is located on the fringe of our galactic system, meaning that you're neighbors. The person that comes into you is not going to be like you, but something about them is going to be close enough to you where it seems like they're a neighbor, like they're friendly, like you can let them in. You know what I mean? Yes. So here's the thing. Now comes the mind control. Once we're in, now I can control you. Now we're going to take the judgment to the 9 of Swords, right? I need a second chance. I need to fight this divine feminine again. And when I fight them again, this is the outcome I want. I want to put the divine feminine in the energy of the 9 of Swords. The 9 of Swords is being mentally overwhelmed. It's being in fear. It's being in stress. It's struggling to process events. You can't process your feelings. You're feeling anxious about the future. It literally feels like you're some type of caged animal. But all of this that's happening in your mind, that's giving you fear and anxiety, that is the mind control. But the mind control is only working because you dropped your anchor, meaning when you were energetically scattered and you wanted to get yourself to a place of rest, you wanted to put your feet on the ground, you put your feet on a karmic path. And this is the path that keeps you in mental anguish. My handmade card says, ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what they're built for. And so divine feminine, this is about you recognizing that I'm supposed to be out there on the open seas, but not being able to overcome your own mind to get out there on the open seas. This is about somebody just wanting you to imprison yourself, but they use your mind. They use your mind against you so that it becomes the prison guard, right? This is what happens on the karmic path. And so the seductive panderer, the seducer that comes into you, is trying to get you to experience, this card says, rolling torment. This is another part of hell. This is the part of hell where competition reigns supreme. In this hell, there is a ditch. Okay? And inside of this ditch, there are a whole bunch of souls that have been condemned for the sin of avarice. That means that these souls are extremely greedy. All they want is wealth. All they want is material gain. Divine feminine, you can grow. What greater gift is there than to grow? So you are not specifically concerned about money. You are concerned about growth of all kinds, not just financial currency. But when you're on the karmic path, because we've been seduced by a panderer, it's almost like they get you trapped in some type of competitive arena where you're afraid to make a move because you don't know if it's going to be a move that gives you money. You're afraid to do anything because you're competing or others are competing. But this is about you being trapped in nothingness. Rolling torment. And so the way this part of hell is described is like there just being a ditch. And inside of this ditch, all of the greedy, everybody that wants money, everybody that wants wealth, they just battle and push each other around continuously. But you're in a ditch. You never get anywhere. You're in a ditch. The point of a divine feminine is you put them in the ditch and they grow into a plant, a flower. They grow above ground. They grow roots beneath ground, right? So the divine feminine can grow anywhere. But on a karmic path where we're trapped in greed and wealth and competition, you won't know it's safe to grow. You won't know you can go on the open seas unless you see the money first. And so like this is about corrupting the nature of the divine feminine energy. And it's only because someone came in that seemed like they were close enough. But remember, this is a part of a greater betrayal. Y'all, and this is how the reading ends. This is how the reading ends, remember? So we got social media is what leads to the mind control. And then finally, I have the moon card. And so this is about a family wanting a second chance. And so they try to create a moment of judgment for a divine feminine. This is about being able to betray a divine feminine. Okay? And so you got this moment and you orchestrate it to take place first on social media. The social media is going to let somebody in that leads to the mind control. Now you feel like you're in a cage. You're afraid to get out. You're competing. Only thing that matters is money. This is a karmic path. This is a path of lessons. This is a path of needing to learn. The divine feminine does not need to be on a karmic path. When you have expired, when you have graduated, nothing can put you back there. And in this reading, something put you back there and you still grew. Okay, so finally, my last handmade card says, recognize that you are hurt. Pride wants to keep you from admitting this. When we are on a karmic path, we are supposed to be learning something. One of the things that you needed to learn, Divine Feminine, is that you may have been carrying some type of hurt or some type of pain. Your pride is always going to stand in front of you and say, I'm not hurt. You're just wrong. I'm not in pain. What you did wasn't right, right? And so this is about wanting there first to be a battle in you so that you can have a battle with whoever this pander is, whoever this seducer. Y'all, I have the card for the moon, and I'm using my Game of Thrones tarot deck. The moon in this deck, I've described it before, it is the moon door. And so y'all know how like sometimes in certain kingdoms they're going to hang you. Some they'll burn you. Some they'll pull you apart by your limbs by, tying you to different horses. Okay, well, the moon door in one kingdom in Game of Thrones, I want you to imagine literally being pushed off of a balcony. And that was the death, but it was through a door in the sky, the moon door. The betrayal that your family created, Divine Feminine, if this is your reading, is that they wanted to push you through a moon door. The moon door talks about, first of all, when you think of the moon, I want you always to think of the sun. When somebody orchestrates a plan under the moonlight versus under the light of the sun, that means there are parts of this plan that they don't want people to see. There are parts of the plan that they don't want people to know about. And so I have a 10 of Cups who is under judgment because of what they thought they could bring judgment to a Divine Feminine for, right? So the very situation where you tried to create judgment for a Divine Feminine, that is the exact situation that this 10 of Cups or this group is now sitting under judgment for, because they tried to put a Divine Feminine in darkness and all they did was grow. Right? But the intention of what they wanted to happen to you is the exact reason why they must experience judgment. This is what they wanted to happen. The panderer enters the life of the Divine Feminine. You get the Divine Feminine to anchor themselves into a karmic path of rolling torment where there's nothing but ego. All you think about is wealth. All you think about is money. All you think about is competition. There's not enough resources. There's not right. Mind control would have done that. It would have kept the Divine Feminine trapped, not feeling like the open seas were safe. I'm a ship that was literally built for the ocean, but I'm going to stay in this harbor because it just feels safe. This is about people who don't want the Divine Feminine to move, to grow, to be seen, to be heard. Anyway, the goal was to put you through a moon door. Once you're in the connection with this person, we now have eternal embrace, okay? So this is the part of the hell that they wanted you. So look, this is like saying, listen, so your family went to the part of hell in order to find somebody that would betray you. They found the soul that would betray you. Then they had to get the soul that would seduce you. They got that soul. Then they needed to recruit a soul that was going to compete with you, that was going to battle you for money, that was going to battle you for fame, that was going to push you around, that was going to make you afraid. And then finally, the final part of them, the final part of the plan takes us to the part of hell where there is the eternal embrace. Now, when Dante and Virgil get to this part of hell, they find star-crossed lovers. This is Paolo, and I think her name is like Francesca. And so when Dante sees these two lovers in hell, they are clinging to each other. Y'all, I don't know why, but when I got to this part of the reading, I thought about a kebab, a skewer, a wooden stick where one end is pointy and one end is dull. I want you to put 2 shrimp on a skewer, and that is it. I just want you to imagine 2 raw shrimp on a skewer. It looks like they're spooning, right? We got little spoon, big spoon, little shrimp, big shrimp. That is the image on this card. Imagine that there are 2 humans that are spooning each other, but then pierced in between both their abdomens is a spear, almost like 2 shrimp on a damn kebab. That is the image on the card. That is the outcome of this police report. I literally have crime of passion. Y'all, all of this ends with crime of passion. This is how the betrayal was supposed to go. But when they put the divine feminine in the darkness, she didn't do what they thought she was going to do, or he didn't do what they thought he was going to do. He grew in the darkness. And so there could have been a situation where you were orchestrated to be linked up with somebody who was dark and crazy. This would have been the karmic path. You would have grounded yourself in the path, meaning your feet, somebody would have caught you when your feet were off the ground. And when you go to put your feet on the ground, little do you know, you have just dropped your anchor in karmic lessons. This is a part of the mind control. All of this was supposed to push the divine feminine through the moon door. It would have only have worked. It only would have worked if the divine feminine was so prideful that they hadn't recognized their own pain. When you don't know you're hurt, when you don't recognize your shadow is fine. You just have to know your shadow better than your enemy. And who knows your shadow better than family? Who knows your shadow better than people that you've spent years with? And so this is about literally an entire situation being orchestrated. They found somebody to betray you. They found somebody to seduce you. They found somebody to compete with you for money, right? And this could have been the same person that was responsible for the mind control. Whoever was supposed to keep you imprisoned in your mind, feeling anxious and afraid and scared. Whoever was supposed to keep you from feeling like I am safe out on the open seas. I'm a whole ship. Somebody was supposed to make you feel like I can't leave the harbor. I can't leave the harbor, right? But anyway, you recognize that you were hurt, not in this situation, but like in general. When you recognize all of your own pain, it cannot be used against you. And so when people try to put you in pain that is familiar, you grew. But it was really supposed to take you out. And the only reason why you grew in the pain, because you already saw it, you already recognized. And so there was no subconscious moon door that they could throw you in. They created a whole plan. And this plan was supposed to take light. It was supposed to take place under the moonlight at night. But divine feminine, you could see everything that was happening in the environment because you had already walked through your own nights under the moonlight. Shadow work is literally walking around in your own darkness to the point where you are familiar and comfortable with your own darkness. And then you use your darkness to protect you. You use it as a mechanism of safety. And so when somebody else tries to send you through a moon door of darkness, you're like, I've already been here before. I know how to respond. And so someone wanted you to respond to a situation that was out of character. So much so, I didn't tell you. So Paolo and Francesca, when Dante gets to this version of hell, this is about the eternal embrace. So you have 2 people who are madly in love. But Francesca is in love with Paolo, but she's already married to Paolo's brother. They have an affair any fucking way. When the brother finds out, he kills them both. So this is why Dante is able to see them in hell, still hugging. And look, they don't give a damn about being in hell. They're like, we love each other, like clinging on to each other, even in hell. 2 shrimp on a skewer. This is how it was supposed to end for you. The mind control was supposed to set up a crime of passion. The crime of passion would have only have happened if this divine feminine did not yet know their own pain. But y'all remember, the overall message is about a rebuked traitor. When Dante kicked Boca in the head when he was walking through the part of hell about betrayal and treachery and trading, Dante refused to move on. He refused to shut the fuck up and be silenced about the suffering that traitor or that betrayal had caused. And so what I'm understanding is that they called the divine feminine in a season where the divine feminine was no longer silent. Suffering was not okay. And so no, you can't bring somebody to seduce a divine feminine. They seduce you, then they keep you in mind control. Now you're in this prison for years. And then it all ends in a crime of passion because you don't know you're hurt. But the fact that you knew you were hurt means that there was no subconscious plan that would end in a crime of passion, because you could see it all. Am I making it clear okay? So they wanted, the final part of this plan was a crime of passion. You were supposed to be somebody's little spoon. You were supposed to be a crazy little spoon to a crazy big spoon. And y'all were supposed to be looking like two shrimps on a skewer, just pierced, done and dead, labeled as a crime of passion. That was the end of the betrayal. That was the end of the plot, orchestrated by 10 of Cups of family. Now, when anybody looks at the body cam footage of what you've gone through, divine feminine, when anybody reads the police report of what you've endured, and y'all, can I talk about the fact that this literally could have been 4 different people? This doesn't have to be one person that is playing out every scenario. First, you got to have the person to betray you. Then you got to have the person to seduce you. Then you got to have the crazy competitor who's responsible for the mind control. And then finally, you got to have the person who takes you out in a fit of rage. Either divine feminine didn't recognize that they were hurt, and so you pushed and pushed and pushed past somebody else who didn't know they were hurt, and then y'all take each other out. Or divine feminine, you don't recognize that this person is nothing but a moon door, meaning they are carrying around a subconscious that is going to trap them one way or the other. And little do you know, divine feminine, you can put them in it. But if you can see your own darkness, then you can see the darkness of others too. All I'm saying is the plan didn't work, because however you were supposed to respond and show up in darkness, you did not show up that way. You fucked around and grew. And so everybody is looking at this thing, and you keep growing in every single stage. So the crime of passion never happened. You're not going to be a shrimp on a skewer, right? The rolling around in a ditch because you're only concerned about materials and money and finances. You're afraid to grow. You're afraid. Nope, that's mind control. That didn't work either. And then allowing people to convince you by way of social media. Allowing people to seduce you in the shadows by way of social media, getting you to ground and align yourself with karmic paths. Even that didn't work. Any dark plan, any dark environment or fear where you were supposed to be seeded into at your own detriment did not work, divine feminine, because you grew again and again and again every single time. Y'all, so that is this reading. I love you so much. This is our Sunday message, and I will get this posted. All right, y'all. I love you. I'll see you soon. Bye.